Hello, and thank you for stopping by. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. If you are not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when new videos arrive. I belong to a group called Speak Out Seattle. It's a Facebook group, and there's some hot button topics that have been brought up over the last several months that I've been a part of this Facebook group. And one of the members of this Facebook group has brought up a candidate for mayor, along with several other candidates. This particular candidate, this member feels very strongly about. His name is Lance Randall. And Lance Randall is a transplant. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily. I have yet to find out exactly why he moved to Seattle. I do know that when he was living in Georgia, he lost a mayoral race in his hometown. And then he felt like he was stifled and couldn't move forward. So he put out feelers to various cities and a resume to find out if anybody would be interested in using his talents. Out of all of the particular cities that I know of, Seattle was the first one to respond. Basically, the only one that responded. So he packed up his grip with his family and he moved to Seattle. And he's been there for a few years now. I don't know a lot about Lance Randall personally, but some of the hot button topics that we are dealing with on this Facebook group is homelessness, drug abuse, high crime, high cost of living, and hardly any affordable housing, which is making it difficult to house the homeless. I listened to several of the candidates talk in a YouTube video, and they basically spent the time patting themselves on the back, where they came from, what their credentials were, the things that they did in the past. The people that were doing this YouTube video hardly asked them any hard-hitting questions like, okay, how do you propose to fix the homeless problem? Do you have anything already that you can just hit the ball or hit the ground running? Hardly any of them said anything about fixing the homeless problem, but I came across an article that Lance Randall had been a part of, or at least this article was written, taken from an interview that Lance Randall had done, and it is entitled, "Seattle Mayoral Candidate Seeks Compassionate Spaces for Homeless." That sounds cute, and we have to be compassionate, but we also have to be firm, and we have to put our foot down and allow the homeless to understand that for their sake and the sake of the city, we cannot allow homelessness to keep going. Of course, there's always going to be homeless. Every day somebody's losing their place of stay and they're homeless. But they have yet to become homeless. And that's a big, huge stride from being homeless to becoming homeless. Once you have lost your apartment or your residence and you are out on the street, you are homeless. You have not yet become homeless because you have just been put into that homeless category. So for the next month or two, you have your wits about you. You can look for housing. You can look for a job if that's why you lost your housing. You can look for a job. You could stay at a friend's house for a while. You could go to a shelter if there's beds available and stay there for a few days. But you haven't really become homeless. After a couple of months, you have to start figuring out where you're going to stay. You have to figure out where you're going to put your clothes and your belongings. You have to figure out how you're going to get around. You have to figure out where you're going to eat. And by doing that, you hardly have any time to be looking for gainful employment. Now, there is that exception to the rule where somebody can become homeless and still have their wits about them. And once they figure out where to put things, where to stay, and how to get around, they can go focusing on get a job, get out of this homelessness situation and back on their feet. Not everybody can do that. Over time, it is easy to get lazy and become comfortable in your situation. Some people are homeless because they need to be homeless. They can't handle living by themselves. Their family has up and left them. Or maybe their mom and their dad was the only person around in their life, and now their parents have passed away and they feel lonely. So they become homeless because they need companionship at all costs. They need to be able to hear people, and they need to be able to communicate. And it's easier when you're homeless because it kind of becomes your family. Some people give up because once they've lost their job, they try to get another job and they get the door slammed in their face. Also, apartments. Once you've lost your apartment or your residence of where you're staying at, and it's been more than a couple of months, your rental history is gone now. And most places will not rent to somebody that doesn't have any rental history. I have a fix for that, but I will talk about that at a later time. I want to read you this article that I came across in mynorthwest.com website, and it's entitled Seattle Mayoral Candidate Seeks Compassionate Spaces for Homeless. Now I'm going to talk to you about the other candidates in an upcoming video. Each video will be dealing with a particular candidate. I picked Lance because that's who we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Lance Randall is a former city economic development employee who is now running for mayor of Seattle and hopes to create spaces for homeless individuals to go where they can have their basic needs met. He believes the current approach isn't working. And it's true, the current approach is not working. We do not want to keep them homeless. We do not want to provide them a way to stay homeless. We want to provide them a way to where they can be pushed into society, whether it be into a group home for mental illness, whether it be drug rehab and alcohol rehab for drug addicts and alcoholics, whether it be jobs program for people that are looking for employment. That goes into the program that I have put on the internet several times, and I've even spoke on it in a YouTube video a few times. Now, I do not believe that we should create spaces. I believe that we should create one space for all the homeless to go into, and it be humane. Bunk beds or mats, I mean not mats, but cots. Maybe kids could do bunk beds if there's kids involved, whatever. But I will deal with that in another video. I keep getting off track here. I don't have much time to do this video. He says, I believe the biggest issue right now is trying to help the men and women who are experiencing homelessness in the city. I think we really need to step up our game and try to figure out a way to help them get out of the situation. I think that the pandemic has worsened things for them. I also think that the downturn in the economy has made it worse. So I think that what we need to do is come together as a city, put our heads together, go with some strategy that's going to help these people, our brothers and our sisters, our friends and family, get out of this situation so that we can help them normalize their lives again. Well, year after year, term after term, mayor after mayor, everybody has said that. It's easy to talk a good game when you are running for office. But once you get into office, you find out that there's going to be blowback. The homeless shelters will give you trouble. The human resources services will give you blowback. A lot of people are not going to like you taking money out of their pocket because, let's face it, people are making money off of the homeless. They are. Randall finds the current setup to be inhumane and hopes to move ahead with a program called the Dignity Project to help address the homeless issue. I think it's very inhumane to have them living on the street and in makeshift structures and in RVs. Many of the RVs don't work, don't have heat. Some were concerned about their health, their safety, and their ability to stay alive. So I think what we have to do is we have to create a safe space or a safe place for them to provide everything that they need. And this is going to require participation from a lot of people around the city. I hate to break here, but I came up with the Vacant Sam's Club as a way to house the homeless. There's a Vacant Sam's Club. There's actually three of them, three Vacant Sam's Clubs in the city and surrounding area of Seattle. And it has a large enough parking lot to where we can house the homeless inside. For those that like living in a van or in a camper, you can place that out in the parking lot. Keep it neat, because we don't want to make an eyesore, but also we want to be able to help. And that would be my workable shelter idea. The Sam's Clubs in Seattle are staying vacant for a particular reason. They could have sold the property a while back, but they haven't. Why? They're looking to possibly donate a Sam's Club to the city for tax write-offs. Hello? It's going to require participation from our service providers and our elected officials, people in the neighborhood, organizations, and just people in general around the city. Well, you know, there's a lot of people that are frustrated and upset with the idea that there's homeless, and I don't blame them. I was homeless for over 10 years. I know what it's like. I even got frustrated with some of the homeless. And that doesn't mean I don't care about them. It doesn't mean that I don't have compassion for homeless people. But some homeless people need to be taken off the street because they're not helping anybody. They're not helping themselves. They're not helping the city of Seattle. This isn't just a Seattle problem. This is a worldwide problem. With the Dignity Project, it focuses on three main areas. It focuses on finding a safe place for the individual who were sleeping in makeshift tents and RVs on the street, and finding a place that's big enough where we can provide parking for the RV, explain, and we should provide the tents for the individuals that are trying to create housing for themselves on the street. See, keep them homeless. No, you don't keep them homeless. You don't provide them tents. You go to the tent communities, the tent cities. You get the ones that are over the tent. Each tent city has people that are sort of like the president of that particular tent city or the mayor of that tent city, so to speak. They speak on behalf of the tent city. And from what I've gathered from people that have talked on video, people are willing to get out of the tent city if they had a place to go. Hence, the Sam's Club turned into a workable shelter. If we provide space for them big enough where we can set the tents up for them, then inside, instead of sweeping as a normal experience, that we can do is compassionately encourage them to come to this place where we have the tents already set up for them, outfitted with cots and heaters and everything they need instead, he said. That in itself is a good idea, but my idea for the Sam's Club might be better in the long run, because you don't want to keep the people homeless. You want to help them get into permanent housing. You know, if you want to get them out of permanent housing, there's the OPOD tube houses, and I've talked about that in videos too. You can find that in some of my other YouTube videos if you look for them. OPOD tube housing. It's by a contractor slash architect named James Law. He's from Japan, and these are quite ingenious. They can be put where traditional housing cannot be put. Where traditional housing can't be built, you can put the OPOD tube houses. And I'll speak about that in an upcoming video too, although I've done several videos on the matter. To learn more about Randall's campaign, you can visit Randall on the internet. Now, that's just one candidate that's running for mayor, and he's talking a good game, but I don't really see it going anywhere. I could be wrong here, and if I am greatly apologetic. I don't mean any harm to Randall. I just think that what he's doing is no different than what Jenny Durkin said she wanted to do, and various other candidates in the past. This homelessness problem has been going on for well over 30 years now, and it's gotten worse in the last 10 to 20 years. It has. With the influx of people moving to Seattle to get a fancy Fraser Crane job, so has the housing went up, which causes people to be homeless. So what are you going to do? If you have any comments you'd like to leave, please put them downstairs in the comments below. If you want to give my video a thumbs up, please do so. Also, if you'd like to hit the subscribe button, it's right down there. Subscribe so you can be notified when new videos arrive. On this note, I'm going to let you go. Remember, let's make tomorrow better than yesterday by doing the very best we can today. Have a good afternoon, Seattle, America, and all points beyond.